It sounds like a true story. A young law professor and a reporter combined forces to solve the decades-old murder of a civil rights activist. The evidence points to the man running for the highest political office in Mississippi. It's the kind of case that our legal analyst Jack Ford would join us to talk about. But actually, it's the plot of his second novel. It's called The Walls of Jericho. Jack Ford, welcome and congratulations. I was going to say this movie because it should be a movie. This book took so many twists and turns, but it all made sense to me. Where did this come from?
You know, it came from involvement that I had. I spent a lot of time in Oxford, Mississippi over the last 15 or 20 years. I lecture at the law school, at the journalism school. I have a lot of friends there. And a couple of years ago, and I've come to love the place and the people. A couple of years ago, I was doing research for a course I teach up at Yale on famous trials. And I came across a story of a 1955 civil rights murderer, Reverend George Lee, shotgunned to death after being involved in a civil rights voting movement. And not only was it never solved, it was never even investigated. Police at the time wrote it off as a motor vehicle accident, despite the shotgun blast. And I thought to myself, you know, the Mississippi I know now, you know, the University of Mississippi created this Institute for Racial Reconciliation. They've done wonderful work. They recognize the problems with their past. But I thought, how would the Mississippi I know now deal with the ghosts of the Mississippi in the past that they were confronted with? So that was sort of the genesis of the story.
So that's what this is about. It's about a cold case of a civil rights activist, right?
It is. It's a cold case, and it's people and places dealing with the ghosts of their past. How do you deal with that when you're confronted with, you know, something that had happened here? So this cold case becomes resurrected. The characters you mentioned, a woman who's an investigative reporter for the New York Times, parts of all of you in the reporter here, and then
granddaughter of a Klansman, the law professor. His dad is a big civil rights activist. Yeah. There's a twist there, solving the civil rights crime. There's a sex scene in the book, and I have to say, I got a little uncomfortable reading it, Jack.
The sex scenes are hard.
Because I'm thinking, I know Jack Ford.
I've told this story before, but I'm writing the sex scene, and all of a sudden I finish, and I think, oh, my mom, who's 91 years old, is going to read this. Oh, no. Hit delete. Make it go away. Do something.
Any good book has a good sex scene.
You have to have it.
You gotta have it.
Although I do think my children are embarrassed by the fact.
No. It's so well done. And the names are so cool. Channing Wallace, Tillman Jessup, Jefferson Tranum. Where did you get these names?
I think names evoke a place and a feeling. And what I did, literally, I grabbed the Oxford, Mississippi phone book.
Right, yeah.
And I started looking through that and rosters from Ole Miss, and I sort of picked first names and last names, and I said, this sounds like the person who would be, you know, the governor, or sounds like the person who would be the trial lawyer or the professor.
I know writers have actually taken names off gravestones.
Yeah.
This is your second book. Did it get any easier writing this book?
It did. You know, I think the first time took probably 4 years to do. This did 2 years, because you're doing it, you know, sort of part-time. I marvel at friends of mine like John Grisham who can do a book in 6 months. The writing got easier. You learned about how you write and what's the best time of the day for you to write.
What is the best time of the day for you?
I found later in the day. I live down on the ocean. I find if I can walk on the boardwalk, it helps clear my mind. So you learn things about yourself.
You know what? I also thought they have some really compelling courtroom scenes, and I thought you must have been a badass in the courtroom. Really. I mean, the dialogue that you did, I'm not just saying this because I would be very subdued if I didn't like it. Yeah. But the way that you did the courtroom narrative, you must have been a bad something.
I don't know. Again, you can ask my mother. She'll weigh in on that one. But that's fun to write for me because I'm able to put together scenes that I've lived through, that I've chronicled, things that I would want to have said in the courtroom, wasn't able to say. So doing that part, that was the easy part. You know, that part flowed fairly easily. You always wrestle with the other parts.
And the nice part is you know the outcome in this one, Jack.
Or you can make it up if you don't like the way it's going, as opposed
Jack
to
Ford, thanks so much.
Thanks,